Hello, I'm Kevin Morrison. Welcome to SPS Now, where we let you know what's happening within Spokane Public Schools and how it affects your family. So let's take a look around Spokane Public Schools. On behalf of the HEART program, we'd like to thank our wonderful Spokane community for supporting the needs of unaccompanied homeless youth in Spokane Public Schools. We collected more than $5,000 in gift cards and over $2,000 in cash donations last month. This allowed the HEART program to provide a range of gift cards to more than 230 students before the start of winter break. The cash donations were used to purchase winter coats, boots, and gloves for students in need. Our sincere gratitude goes to each and every person who contributed. SPS has a new option this year for responding to inclement weather, a 2-hour delayed start. If it's determined that this is the safest option for the day, high schools would start at 10 a.m., elementaries at 10:30 a.m., and middle schools at 11 a.m. Morning programs and zero-hour classes would be canceled, and express child care would begin at 8 a.m. Other options still include delaying only buses and canceling school. Visit the address on your screen to learn how we determine when to cancel or delay school. Our friends here at KSPS Public Television will be joining us at the Spokane Arena this week to highlight Rubber Chicken and Groovy Shoes High School Spirit matchups. The annual basketball games pit Shadle Park against North Central and Ferris against Lewis and Clark. Check out SpokaneSchools.org/stories to watch highlights from each contest. And if you missed last year's events, you can find those there as well. Community members are invited to learn more about restorative practices in a 2-part workshop taking place at Shadle Park High School tomorrow, January 16th and February 6th. Restorative practices is an approach to build community, restore relationships, and repair harm when conflicts occur. This holistic approach to behavior management in schools has gained wide support not only in Spokane Public Schools, but across the nation. It has shown to significantly lower detentions and suspensions and keep students in the classroom to learn. Our 2-part series presents the principles of this approach as well as the strategies used to prevent, reduce, and resolve conflicts. Find out more in RSVP at the web address on your screen. Here to discuss the February 13th Replacement Educational Programs and Operations Levy are Spokane Public Schools Superintendent Shelley Redinger and SPS Chief Financial Officer Dr. Linda McDermott. Welcome to you both.
Thank you.
Dr. Redinger, let's start with you. Can you explain to our viewers what a levy is and what it funds exactly?
Yes, so a levy, we like to say levies are for learning. So levies fund programs over and beyond basic education. So think of things like athletics, band, orchestra, extra school resource officers, nurses, and so it funds about 300 positions for our school system, but they're over and beyond and enrich our current program.
All right, and Dr. McDermott, what I understand the state's been funding more, so how does that translate for our local taxpayers?
With the adoption of the Basic Education Funding Plan last year by the legislature, there are additional state resources coming to the district. So what that means for local taxpayers and with regard to the levy is that the local levy tax rate will be lower than it has historically.
And there is the LEA is a term that we will hear occasionally, equalization, levy equalization. How does that exactly work?
Local Effort Assistance is a state program. It's state funding that is provided through the state budget, and it's really a taxpayer equity program. And what it does is the intent is to equalize the rate that local taxpayers have to pay to help support a local levy. So because our tax property values vary so much across the state, it helps mitigate that variation by keeping tax rates for local levies closer and more equitable.
So in other words, probably Eastern Washington, a lot of Eastern Washington properties compared to, for instance, maybe the I-5 corridor.
That's exactly correct.
Great, yes. Interesting. Dr. Redinger, the current legislative session is now taking place. what's going to happen as far as any educational funding with it, seeing how I believe the state believes that they've paid up on the educational McCleary decision. So what's going to happen this year?
Well, there has been a ruling by the Supreme Court that they still has not completed, the legislature has still not completely funded basic education. One of the outstanding factors is compensation. So I know they are looking at that, trying to decide how to do regionalization, which is varying salaries throughout the state. And then for Spokane Public Schools, we've raised the issue also about special education funding. There still is a cap, and there's something called a multiplier, and we would like to see that change to help us so that we can fully fund our special education programs.
So lots of action, and even though it's a short legislative session, we should probably be seeing some action on the educational front.
Yes, I don't think there'll be a lot on this session because it's a little bit shorter, but we do hope those issues will be addressed.
Great. And Linda, for you, I'm wondering about, we're hearing a lot about space issues and not enough classroom spaces, not only in Spokane Public Schools, but across the state. Does any of that additional funding that the state has given, does any of that address any of that?
It doesn't. When we make reference to the levy and the basic education funding is really about the general fund operating budget, and there is no additional resource in the general fund for housing the students for lower class size, which is part of the basic education funding plan. The capital budget is where that money would normally come from, and there is not currently any funding in the capital budget that would support additional progress towards lower class sizes in kindergarten through third grade. So we're hoping that the legislature continues to address that as we try to implement the initiative of lower class sizes in our elementary primary grades.
But Dr. Redinger, we are moving forward. The district is moving forward with still some planning for smaller class sizes and additional space if I'm
Absolutely.
not,
And we're looking at every nook and cranny in our schools to make sure that we can meet the class size. It's K-3, like Dr. McDermott said, it's the primary grades. And also, as we're rebuilding some schools with our current bond, we're building them a little bit larger to help with that as well. So Franklin Elementary, and we're getting ready to break ground on Linwood Elementary this spring. That will help us with some extra capacity, but it's still not enough to get to where we need to be.
Right, and so I understand there's studies that are ongoing right now on how we can best optimize and where we might best optimize some of those space issues as well that we'll be speaking to at a later edition of SPS Now. So the ballots will start arriving sometime within the next week or two.
Yeah.
And voters can what will be the current rate that they'll be looking at on the ballot?
As they consider the ballot, the information will reflect $1.50 per $1,000 of assessed property value, and that is stipulated in the new basic education funding law that was passed by the legislature last session. Again, as we've been mentioning, it's changed the way local levies are used in schools, and also the amount that school districts can ask voters to approve.
So I understand that levies, as you'd mentioned, pay for those things that are above and beyond what we consider general education, basic education, as the legislature calls it. What would be some examples that a parent might see where a levy would be assisting inside the classrooms in our schools?
Sure. So an example would be at the elementary level, we have specialists. So think of librarians, guidance counselors, art specialists, music specialists. So our levies fund those positions. Also after school activities, so for example, robotics, and the after-school clubs that we're able to offer. A big part of it also is we receive just a small amount from the state for nurses, and we fund quite a few extra nurses out of our levy dollars. Campus resource officers, those are not funded, and in addition, extra grounds to keep our custodial services functioning. All of those things take place as well.
Great. So when it considers, so what the legislators consider may be basic education, it's a decision that each local district can decide for themselves, and what additional resources they may want within their district and what other offerings they may want.
Correct.
So it's less than previous. It's a replacement levy, just replacing what, one from 3 years ago.
Expiring one.
So anything else that voters should know?
Just that it is a large part of how we fund our extra programs in Spokane Public Schools.
Great. Well, thank you both for being here. We appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Ferris High School teacher Mandy Manning was named one of the 4 finalists for the 2018 National Teacher of the Year. The program identifies exceptional teachers nationwide, celebrates their effective work in and outside the classroom, and empowers them to take part in policy discussions at the state and national levels. Here's a look at what Mandy does at our Newcomer Center.
So the Newcomer Center is a unique program. There are only a handful in our state and across the nation. And it's a specialized English language development program for English language learners brand new to our country. And they've usually only been in our country for 1 to 3 months. And so we give them foundational English. We introduce them to the American school system. We also do some foundational math skills. My students teach me more than I teach them, for sure, because I get to learn about all their cultures, I get to meet their families, I get to be exposed to something really different from what happens here, you know, our culture here in the United States. And I care deeply about my students. With all of the things that are happening right now in terms of our kids, the refugee and immigrant students that we serve, the #1 best thing that we can do is we can communicate that we care about them. We want them to be here with us, and we care about our refugee and immigrant students. No matter what, we are here to protect and love and keep them safe.
The 2018 National Teacher of the Year will be named this spring. They'll spend the next year traveling the country to represent educators and advocate on behalf of teachers and students. Best of luck to Mandy. At the December 6th school board meeting, members who won their respective elections were sworn into their 6-year terms. Director Dina Brower was sworn into her term for position 5 on the board, and Mike Weiser for position 2. Following this, the board entertained nominations from its members for both the presidency and vice presidency of the school board for the upcoming year. Director Sue Chapin, who served on the SPS board since 2007, was nominated to serve as board president, and Jarrell Haynes was nominated as vice president. As always, we encourage all members of the Spokane community to attend a school board meeting. They are held at 7 p.m. the 2nd and 4th Wednesdays of each month on the boardrooms of the SPS Administration Building. On holidays, or when a conflict occurs, a meeting may be held at an alternate time or date. Visit our website to find upcoming agendas and more information. I'm joined now by Board President Sue Chapin, as well as Director of Health Services Becky Doty. Welcome to you both.
Hello, Kevin.
Hi, Kevin.
Sue, you come to the school board and the school district with a kind of a unique background in healthcare yourself. So why don't you tell us a little bit about your background?
Yes, I do. I am a registered nurse myself and have been for quite a while, since 1979 actually, but my experience is primarily associated with hospitals, not with the world of education as far as nursing goes. But so because of that, I have a huge interest in the health services area for students in our district and public health.
Great. And Becky, for those who don't know, and the roles have obviously been changing over the years as of, for educators as well as for the support staff, such as nurses. What is a nurse responsible for inside schools today?
Well, primarily we keep the children safe and healthy so that they can learn. That's our biggest goal. They are the healthcare provider in the building, so they write care plans, they keep track of and administer medication, we monitor diseases in the buildings, contagious illness. We do a lot of case management, connecting families and kids with resources that they need to stay healthy. We really do quite a bit of things beyond just first aid for kids. One of the things we also do is work with children who have mental health issues. I think it's a it doesn't get noticed very much that we do that in the buildings. My nursing staff works a lot with kids in the health room who are in mental health crisis. And one of the reasons we do that is because our door is always open. You don't have to have an appointment to meet with one of the school nurses. It's a safe place for kids to come talk.
And nurses are trained in mental health care.
Absolutely.
That's part of our education as registered nurses. So it's not by chance that nurses are involved in that area with the kids.
And we do employ quite a few nurses who have psychiatric nursing backgrounds. So I would say that in today's adolescents, in particular in the high school setting, probably 80% of the work we do is mental health.
Oh, interesting. That obviously a field that is growing. Brings me to, you're part of a team then. I mean, obviously within school, because we have additional counselors and therapists and administrators that also deal with that. And so that's what I imagine part of a care team does for individual case management in our schools.
Absolutely. I think the need is so great that we couldn't cover it with just mental health therapists and counselors. And so nurses are a good addition to that team. And again, we're always available, and it is a safe and comfortable place for kids to go when they need to talk or they need help or resources.
And Sue, I know that, speaking of the hard work that they do, and in our schools, we have a need for more.
Absolutely. I, for one, and I know the rest of the board feel strongly about this, we'd like to see a nurse in every school. Right now, we don't have that. It's not a part of the state funding model to have a nurse in every school. However, in Spokane Public Schools, we use levy funds to help put more nurses in schools than the state funds, because we know it's important. We still don't have one in every school, but we're not done yet.
Well, I know that that kind of came as a little bit of a shock to our superintendent, Shelley Redinger, when she came, when she moved back to the state to lead the district. In many states across the nation, it's a model for every school to have a full-time nurse there. And I would think that would make continuity of some of these services we're talking about much easier.
We have a lot of students that have very significant medical problems in our school buildings, and having a nurse available to intervene if there's problems for the child is really important. Unfortunately, in some situations, students who do need a nurse in the building all the time, if they don't live in an area where there is a full-time nurse in the building, we've even had to transfer students to different schools so they can be in a school where there is a nurse present all the time.
And I know that we're hearing, national statistics about, levels of asthma and allergic reactions as well. So I would think that that would be a critical part of what you are managing as well. Some of those care plans. It's far greater than 25 or 30 years ago even.
Absolutely. About 19% of our student body has a healthcare plan on file with us. I would say that one of the biggest things we see besides asthma would be diabetes. And often when the children have to be bused to a school other than their neighborhood school, it's because we don't have a full-time nurse in that building where the child would normally attend. And so we have to bus that student to another building that does have a nurse. So, and we're seeing an increasing number of these diagnoses. And so, we have to be able to serve them. So we do end up having to move them, like Sue said.
In the olden days, and I grew up in Spokane, the nurse in the building took care of skin knees and took your temperature if you didn't feel well, but that was pretty much it. And school nursing today is completely different. They're very involved with many children who have very significant needs.
We have students with tracheostomies, ventilators. We really do provide healthcare service to any student, regardless of the healthcare needs that they have when they come to us. So.
And the coordination of those, of course, with the other healthcare professionals within our own network, let alone outside in, with the physicians and other nursing and medical professionals, has got to be enormous. I really just can't imagine that.
Just as well as the sheer numbers of students in a building. You know, if you look, some of our elementary schools have more than 500, 600 children in them. And our high schools, 1,500. So it's a significant assignment, and it's a significant challenge for our school nurses, but we've got a wonderful team.
Right.
So
one of the things I guess that I look at, you know, it's a little more familiar that I, you know, that you see is just the vaccination schedule, how much it's grown over the past, you know, 25 years or so. New vaccinations come up and new schedules come up, and just keeping track of that is an enormous task.
And we are very supported by the local health district in doing that. We really depend on them to help us communicate that to the families and provide that communication from the providers in the community to us, to the families, so we do all work together on that.
And that kind of brings me to another point. It's our educators and teaching and learning staff take the lead from OSPI, the Office of Superintendent of Public Instruction. The nursing is kind of this in-between because it takes some of the direction, follows the laws that are often under the guise of the Washington Department of Health. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of a unique mix that you have to navigate in our schools every day.
Absolutely. It's the challenge of being a school nurse in an educational setting. We take our direction from the State Department of Health, the CDC, the local health department. We really are bound by our license with the state. So some of our rules sometimes are different than maybe what you would expect in a school setting. But yeah, we try to make it fit that connection between healthcare and education.
No easy task.
No, it's not an easy task, but they do a wonderful job. Yep. We've had comments from the public at times about the vaccination requirements and why is the school making my child do this? Well, the school is just upholding state law. It's the state law that requires children to have complete vaccination records coming into school. And the school district, as a state agency, supports that law.
Right. Either the vaccination or the waiver.
Correct.
That's right.
All right.
Absolutely.
It's good to know. I'd like to kind of finish up with a question that is probably weighing about this time of year on a lot of parents' minds. I know that raising my daughter, I had the same questions. When do I keep my student home? I mean, cold and flu season is out there. Big. We're seeing some increases.
A lot of increase. This is a very big flu season right now, but it's not only flu. There's a lot of other respiratory illness going around too.
And you're both parents.
Yes.
What is the rule that you follow?
Oh, it is, and it's a tough call because you don't want your student to get behind in school. If there's a fever, 100 degrees or higher, vomiting, tired, you know, any of the aches and pains that would come with the flu, I keep them home.
Well, it looks like you have your work cut out for you. Job security, for sure, with the health issues and a growing concern of health issues with students.
Job security, but in an incredibly valued position.
Oh, and difficult, yes.
Very difficult, very challenging. It really takes a special person to be a school nurse.
I would think so. Thank you both so much for being here. I really do appreciate it, and appreciate the insights that you provided for the hard work that goes on out there in our schools.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kevin.
Spokane Public Schools is proud to offer our city's first public language immersion program. The program started last September with 50 students. Each year, the school will accept a new class of kindergartners, allowing it to expand by 1 grade. Eventually, this will be a full elementary program. Let's take a look.
A lot of the Spanish immersion program is just teaching the kids how to communicate. So we do a lot of singing, we do a lot of echoing, and just really trying to get them to understand based on the context.
I know a little bit of Spanish. Sí, yes. I know like a little bit of French and some German, and I know now I know a little bit of Spanish, and I also speak English.
Students are instructed in both English and Spanish for 1 week at a time. They'll have all English instruction, and then they'll switch, and the next week they'll have all Spanish instruction.
All of the English stuff that I do inside this classroom is kind of like a review because I've like already done kindergarten once. Inside of the other class, I feel like it's all new for me, and I feel like I can learn a lot better with Spanish.
¿Sí? Con un dinosaurio chiquito, sí.
So this is a full-time educational program, just like any other school. We have art, we have music, we have PE. Kids have recess and lunch. They go full day, and they receive the same standards instructions as all kindergartners. They just have the opportunity to learn Spanish authentically.
We can figure out what to do in Spanish, and we can know in Spanish what we're doing.
We've been working with Marigold on Spanish, since she was about 3, and we really wanted to jump at the opportunity to improve her language skills even further. You know, language acquisition is really important in terms of being global citizens, and you learn so much about yourself when you're able to relate to people from a variety of backgrounds and cultures and languages, and so we wanted to give Marigold that opportunity. She really enjoys the Spanish. The songs in particular, we get a lot of, and now they're getting into counting, so you know, she's counting as high in Spanish as she can in English now.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16.
We actually just moved back to town. My husband and I are both from here. And so when we realized that the Spanish program was opening up here, we got really excited and felt like we kind of won the lottery. Well, we kind of did because it's a lottery system. I've been able to volunteer in the classroom several times, and it's been really fun to see them interact, to see them responding in Spanish already and answering back in Spanish.
Honestly, it's incredible just to see how much they've retained already and just the level of their understanding. I can incorporate new words and new phrases, and they're so quick to pick it up.
This is one of several option schools within our district. Students who want to attend a school other than their neighborhood school can fill out an online choice application through February 15th at the address on your screen. On the enrollment site, families can research school and program options and apply for their top choices. And by offering a portfolio of educational options, SPS gives families the freedom to choose a school that's right for their child. More choices mean we're able to support learning needs and are better preparing students to successfully complete some form of higher education, whether it's 2-year, 4-year, or a technical education. Thanks for watching, Spokane. This show is available alongside our other SPS programming at spokaneschools.org/stories, and it will air again on Comcast Channel 17. You can learn more about anything mentioned during the show by visiting spokaneschools.org/SPS Now. And until next time, good night and have a great week.